Good evening, everyone. We're going to get started. Welcome to the Define Learning Showcase and Takeaway this evening. We're glad you're with us, and we are recording the session so we could share with you when the webinar is completed. I am Heather Wertman, and I am here with you from Defined Learning, and I'll be sharing this great resource that you have access to tonight. And I am here with both of our colleagues, Lynn Erickson, and I will let Lynn introduce herself.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks for having me on tonight. Welcome to all of you. My name is Lynn Erickson. I'm a K-12 technology integration specialist in Stafford Public Schools here in Stafford Springs, Connecticut. And I'm excited to share with you how we've been implementing Define Learning in our district. I also am an Invention Convention coordinator for grade 5 and our middle school program. And we'll be sharing with you some of the things that we're doing with Define Learning in our district. So I can't wait to get started and talking to all of you.
Thank you so much, Lynn. So this evening, we have about 40 to 45 minutes of information to share with you. And then we'll have some time for some question and answers at the end. This is what our agenda looks like this evening. So we did our little introduction. We'll discuss who is Defined Learning, and Lynn will showcase some of her great Define Learning experiences and ideas with you. And then I will share our website with you, and we'll get you logged in and show you how to search, customize, and assign to your students. And you will leave today with taking at least one Define Learning task with you, but you'll have access to over 500 tasks within the site. We'll talk to you just for a few minutes here from Meta Research. And like I said, we'll wrap up and answer some questions with you at the end. Lynn, if you want to go ahead and start with, who are we, Defined Learning?
Absolutely. So Define Learning, since I have learned about it in this past fall, teachers can easily implement curriculum-friendly learning opportunities. These opportunities are career-focused projects that involve a lot of hands-on opportunities. Define Learning helps students build these critical thinking skills that are needed for every part of their future as they delve into a variety of interdisciplinary careers through project-based learning. So I'd like to talk to you a little bit about how Define Learning and its project-based learning platform has been aligned to the Stafford Public Schools district vision. So this past year, we started something called Portrait of a Graduate. It's fully developed, and our Portrait of a Graduate outlines those 21st century skills that our district believes students should embody and exemplify by graduation to succeed in college, career, and life. In addition, our strategic educational framework, which was developed in 2019 and lasts through this current school year, was developed to provide the district with an overall vision to inform decision-making and identify goals for school improvement. And one of our short-term action goals is to identify and develop both technology experiences and instructional practices that promote critical thinking and problem solving. And Define Learning fits right into those goals. So every performance task in Define Learning follows this GRASPS format developed by Jay McTighe. And these are things that we're already implementing in our district, especially I would have to say really aligns to our Invention program. So if we're to look at, for example, my Invention program that we utilize in Stafford, we look at the goal for students. So what is the goal that they're trying to come up with for that scenario? And what would their role be in that project? Who would be their audience that they would be developing their invention for? And what would be the situation? And then what products or performances are they going to prepare? And then of course, what standards will their work be judged? And I would have to say that that GRASP model follows everything through every project within the Define Learning platform. So I'd like to take you through what our district has done with Define Learning since my introduction to the platform in late fall. So during our November Professional Development Day, I provided our middle school and high school educators with training on Define Learning. The teachers got to experience a performance task just like a student would. So they dove right into it, right like a student would. So I gave them the opportunity to design a backpack based on their group's needs. They had to decide their target audience. First, they watched a career video and we introduced the guiding question. I took them through the parts of the task, and due to time constraints, their task was to basically draw a design for their backpack, providing key characteristics of their design for their targeted user. They then had to present that to an audience of the rest of their teammates in a 1 to 2 minute pitch. And of course, they had to defend their reasons for why they made the choices for their backpack design, and also talk about some of those design constraints. So if what you see on the screen right now is their introduction to their backpack design project, and we went through all the elements as if they were students. So as you can see, some of the following examples from staff showed how they designed their backpack, either for hikers in various climates, for educators, in addition to design specifically for a woman's shape. And then of course, we can't forget the 3-day weekender party backpack. Then from there, staff shifted from student role to educator role, and they provided feedback on the benefits of Define Learning in a performance task for their students. So as you can see on the screen, some of the things that they felt that it would be a collaboration with groups. It creates a safe environment for students to share out information. Any one of the tasks that they took a look at, they felt that it was collaborative, provides opportunities to reach across various disciplines, and then collaboration without stress of knowing the content. So it gives students the opportunity for voice, choice, and also that the ability to back up their reasonings for why they chose what they did, and also to shine when they create something that they have worked so hard on. So after our training, we'll go on to what our middle school music teacher did. So during our training, she actually found a performance task that was aligned to an upcoming unit she was teaching. Now, I want to give you a little bit of background. This particular teacher is a first-year music teacher, so she's just getting started, and I give her a lot of credit. She found this to be a very simple way to provide her students with an amazing project. So let me tell you a little bit about it. So she tailored the project to her timeline and the elements of her unit. So she introduced her students to creating a superstar musical group, Making Sound. So some of the things that were the elements of the project that she wanted to do with the students was that she wanted them to create a musical group and they would perform their first concert. They had to draw diagrams demonstrating how sound would be produced and travel from their instruments. They also had to create a concert poster advertising their performance and in their newly designed instrument, and then compose a musical piece of their new instruments. So students sketched their design of a brand new instrument. They drew a diagram demonstrating how sound would be produced and travel from their instruments. As you can see on the screen, they created this an example of a poster, a concert poster that featured their brand new instrument, and that also advertised their performance. They composed a 32-piece measure where each band member had an 8-measure solo, and they performed those solos in class by clapping the rhythms. So from the poster to the examples of the newly designed instruments, you can see the various products that students produced. So kudos to that new teacher. She loves this platform and has continued to find new resources to use with her students. And one of my roles in the district is to co-teach or teach lessons in various classrooms. Over the past couple of years, I've been trying to implement a lot of computational thinking lessons for kindergarten through elementary school. So I work in a variety of grade levels doing computational thinking activities. So I have been currently working in a kindergarten class, and I'm beginning to introduce coding to students. So I went on the Define Learning site, and to prepare for those coding activities, I wanted students to understand how robots solve problems. So using one of their performance tasks from Define Learning, I introduced robots through various videos. One of the videos was on Define Learning, where it talked all about the roles of robots and the jobs that robots do. My driving question for all the students was, how do robots solve problems? And students had the ability to brainstorm what a robot was. So we kept a chart of their answers, and students added to the chart throughout the week. So as I set the stage, they already, based on those videos, got an idea what robots were. They also talked about robots that they had in their house that vacuumed the floor or that they could talk to on their parents' phone. So we kept a chart of their answers. It was displayed in the classroom throughout the week, and students could add additional information about what they thought robots were. From there, their performance task was to design a robot that could help solve a problem that they had. So here's some examples of student work and their designs. So we had a student that wanted to have their robot help them put a worm on a hook. And their robot's job, another one, is to drive a car, and you can tell it where to go. And additionally, we have robots that will clean the floor and get M&Ms off the floor. So I guess that student had a lot of M&Ms scattered throughout the floor. And I had another student that wanted to have their robot help them make crafts. So from there, students are currently beginning to do some robotic work with a dash and dot robot that I have that I take in the class. So this was just a perfect way to introduce with a project, with something that they could have really put their hands on and do some activities. And now they had their robots that they could show and display for the rest of their classmates. So for next steps for Stafford Public Schools and Define Learning, we're right now in the process of developing our next 3-year tech plan. And our biggest focus is really on project-based learning aligned to our Portrait of a Graduate. We're also currently using Rubicon Atlas to align our curriculum and include embedded performance tasks. So upcoming next month in March, I'm going to be providing now our elementary teachers with training on Define Learning. So it is our goal that once the whole district is trained and are implementing it, then we can now start taking a look at these performance tasks that are so awesome throughout Define Learning and put those into our curriculum and align that as embedded performance tasks with our curriculum in all grade levels. So
Thank
Heather,
you, Lynn. Thank you so much. That was wonderful. So what I would like to spend the next few minutes is showing you where Lynn got all of these wonderful tasks that you just heard a little bit about, and you saw a couple of screenshots there from Define Learning website. So this is the screen that Lynn shared a little bit with you before. I just wanted to remind you that you'll see this performance task set up, the GRASP model, in all of our tasks once we get into the website. And these performance tasks that you heard Lynn mention, she mentioned our robot, our musical superstar group, our backpack task, all of those tasks have the GRASP model, plus we have a wide variety of products offered throughout our tasks. And we have around 4 to 7 products per task, and every single product covers different standards and different learning styles. So that's why we have so many to offer you, and you might only select one product to use with the task, just like you saw some of Lynn's products or her examples. Or maybe you'll want to let your students choose, and maybe you'll pick 3 or 4 different products for them to choose from. But just so you have a little understanding about what you will see in every single task. So with all of that said, I would like to get everybody online with us into Defined Learning. So here's what I would like to ask you to do. Lynn was just kind enough to drop in the link in our chat with the website for Defined Learning. You also see it up there on your screen. If you would open a new tab, those of you with us, that way it'll be easy for you to toggle back and forth. In that new tab, if you could go ahead and put in that web address or that link Lynn put in for definedlearning.com. It will take you to our home screen, getting ready to log in. Once you're there, if you could toggle back and forth, or if you're staying on my screen for right now, we'll just show you a few things that you need to get logged in. So when you are at definedlearning.com homepage, you're going to see a login orange button at the top of your screen on the right-hand side. So if you click login in the top right, then you'll see 2 different boxes, a blue box that says Define Learning Portal and a gray box that says Define Careers Portal. You want to click the blue box that is Defined Learning Portal. Once you click that blue box, you're going to see a screen come up that's going to ask you, how would you like to sign into Define Learning? And you will see on my screen, it is on existing users, and you could sign in with Google, Clever, or ClassLink if you know what your school login is. And if you do not know, it's okay, because we're prepared tonight to share with you broad or a generic login that anyone could use in Connecticut to get in and access our site. And then you could always put your name and email in the chat tonight, those of you with us, and I could check for what type of login your school is, because every school might have a different type of login, either Google, Clever, or ClassLink. So for tonight's purpose, if you do not know how your school accesses, you want to click on the left-hand side of your screen, the green text that says new user or access code. And when you click that, you're going to have a prompt come up with a box that says enter access code, and you could enter Connect, all capital letters, so the beginning of Connecticut, and you will connect to Defined Learning. So I do see a note. Elizabeth, thank you so much. If you don't mind sharing your email with us, or we could just check with our office in Chicago, and we will find you and we will get back to you about your login. But for tonight's purpose, you could definitely use the access code Connect. There will be a couple of prompts, and it will ask for your name, your email, and you will create an ID and password just for tonight to let you in temporarily. And then you could use this again. Just remember your username and password that you're creating until we get back to you and get your type of school login. So I'm just going to pause just for a few seconds and give everybody just a couple of seconds to get logged in. When you are logged in, you will come to our dashboard, our main page in Defined Learning. And I'm going to go ahead and switch over to our homepage in Defined Learning. So we'll log in, we'll click the Learning Portal, and we will help you with your school sign-in, or you could use access code. And hopefully everybody with us tonight or following along with us is at our Defined Learning homepage, which looks like this one. All right, so moving forward, hopefully you were able to fill out those couple of questions and you got to our home page. So when you are on the home page with me, what you are looking at, you should have your name when we get you signed in the top right with some drop down information. And if you need help anywhere along the way in Defined Learning, you could click support ticket and you could talk to some of our implementation specialists and we'll get right to you with answering your questions. But on our homepage, now that you're logged in, we want to help you find a task or a project, just like Lynn showed you a few minutes ago, her backpack robots or superstar musical group project. So there are several different ways to search for a task. On the left-hand side of the screen, you will see Find Your Project. And you could find your project or your task in this area. You could search by any subject, and you could select a grade band, and you could simply click Find Projects. Or before I do that, I also want to point out that you could search by a subject area or content area. So you'll notice that when I clicked on science, and if you're clicking on something else or math, you'll see all the different topics come up underneath. So you could even filter this further. And of course, grade band stays there, and you would click on the grade band that is suitable for your needs. So for tonight's purposes, I'm going to leave it on any subject. And I mentioned there are several ways you could do any subject or content area. And over on the right-hand side of the page where it says resources box, there is a link right here that says search by standards. You could also search by Connecticut standards. They're all aligned to your state standards in here as well. All right. So back to searching by any subject. It happens to be my favorite way to search, and I'll pretend for tonight's purpose, click 3 to 5 because I am teaching 4th grade, and I will click Find Projects, and it comes up to all of the projects that meet that search criteria that I just used. So you'll see a list of our projects, and as you hover over them, you get a little summary and you see those products that I was mentioning to you on that slide that I showed you a little bit ago. So if you would like to filter this even further, because I'm noticing in the top left-hand corner, you'll see how many projects were found by your search criteria on the home page. So remember, I clicked any subject and grades 3 to 5. If I change my mind and I want to filter further by grades, or if I want to change my mind, you can go ahead and click a subject. You could filter this even further. Just remember to hit filter down on the bottom left. So then you want to select a task. So you could see everything within the task just by hovering over it and clicking on the link to take you to that specific task. I chose aircraft designer tonight. You'll notice a ribbon going across the top of your screen. We are in project preview, so you could see the entire task. And some of these screens will look familiar to you because Lynn highlighted them just a few minutes ago. This is our set the stage, and you could see the introduction is there, the driving questions that she mentioned, career video to take a look at, explore the background with the GRASP model that I said all of our tasks were set up with. You see all the products listed underneath, and research resources that we have for you with all tasks. And we have our learning objects, some additional videos tied to different careers, and some other research resources. And in this case, you're looking at some constructed response links. We also have the design process video for you. All right, so that's basically how to search for a task. And once you have it selected, you could further customize the task. So in order to customize the task, after you found one that you want to use with your students to meet your learning goals or what you're trying to cover, once you have it selected, from this screen, you would want to hit the green ribbon Customize up at the top. And then you're prompted to set up your project. So we're in the blue ribbons and it says Project Setup. So we are creating a new version, a copy of the task, if you will, by clicking Project Setup and following the prompts that are here on the screen. The original project is always on the main page, so you are not editing anything in the main project. Like I said, this is creating a brand new version. And you just want to answer a couple of questions here. So you want to give it a name first. So I'll just leave it Aircraft Designer, and you could put your name for tonight. I'm just going to say copy, all right, for my own title. And then these are all of the products that are highlighted for this particular task. Remember, I said ideally probably selecting maybe one your first time, but maybe 1 to 3 to offer some choice. So I'm just going to go ahead and shut off a few of the products in this task. Once you shut off what you do not want the students to see, the students will not see these other products, you want to hit Create and Continue. Once you hit Create and Continue, we are ready to edit the task further. So you'll see all the different parts of the task, and what you notice when you're in Customize the task, you will notice these blue dotted lines around all parts of the PBL task. You could click inside of the blue dotted lines and it basically changes it to something similar to a Word doc. So you could add your text, you could make something in there bold, you could highlight it, you could add vocabulary, whatever you would like to have your students view when you share it with them. Just always remember to click Save when you're finished, because everything we're changing here is what the students will see on their side. You could see that you could also edit the guided questions if you only want 1 or 2 for your students, and you could continue in the tabs on the left-hand side to continue customizing. Everything in the site is customizable. And I'll go to the research just for a moment. The learning objects, one of the research resources, little tutorials that review the information that you're sharing or teaching at that moment with your students. They are toggled on right now. And again, you could toggle them off if you would like to customize that further. And the same goes for additional videos. You could leave on or off, whatever you would like the students to see. So really, you could customize every single part of defined learning. Okay, when your customizing and editing is finished, once you decide what you want your students to work on, you could go to student check-ins. And here, the check-ins offer you a chance to add that accountability feature and to receive data throughout this PBL task. And you could go through all student check-ins that you would like for your students to answer as little formative assessment as they're going through the task. And you know your students best, so you could leave on as many as you like or turn off as many as you like. And you could even dive into this further by adding skills or standards that your district might want you to look at. When you are finished with customizing your task, you're ready to share it out with your students. So up at the top of the green ribbons, it says assign and share. So you would want to click assign and share and follow the directions in this light blue box. The easiest way to share this with your students might be projecting whole class when you want to show the career video or make a little question, KWL chart as you're working through the task, just like Lynn showed her gathering questions for her one task. But if you're going to share this electronically with your students, the easiest way might just be assigning directly to them and using your platform. So you want to do number one, you want to give this link that I'm hovering over. You want to provide that link to your students. So maybe it's in a Google Classroom if your school uses Google Classroom. And after they have the link to the site, you want to just make sure your students are logging in with the same way that you're going to be logging in. So we'll have them log in with either Google, Clever, or ClassLink. And you could also share just the link with the students as well. But in order for students to submit work, if you wanted to dabble in that down the road, they will have to log in so they could submit their work.
And Heather, if I could just point out something just real quick. And some of our teachers actually just gave the link to the students so they had the task at hand, and everything else, whether it was a Google slideshow presentation that they wanted the students to complete or a video that they wanted them to complete, everything was done within their Google Classroom platform. So you have a variety of options with this and the way students are looking at that project.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lynn. And there are some places that our webinar will be recorded tonight, but I will also show you within Defined Learning, we also have quick little 2-minute videos that you could get a little reminder about how to assign and share with your students or how to customize. All right, so basically they are the basic ways to get in, preview a task in Defined Learning, customize the task, and share it with your students. Now, you might say, if I leave Defined Learning, where would I go to get that copy that you just showed us, that we gave a name and that we created? All of your copies, as soon as you select the task and you go to customize in this project setup where I was at the beginning, when you click that create and continue to your project, everything goes up in the My Projects tab up at the top. And in your projects will be a copy of everything that you just did. So this is my aircraft designer copy that you just saw me create about 5 minutes ago. And you could access all tools from there. You could preview it, you could customize it further, or you could share it to your students from there as well. So I'm going to click my little Defined Learning up at the top and take me back to the home page. And I mentioned to you that you could see some of these quick little tutorials or videos with what I just showed you around the site. On that home page, down on the bottom right, you will notice Getting Started. There is about a 1-minute, 50-second video. They're super quick about how to find your project. There is a 2-minute video on customize your project. And again, a less than 2-minute video on assigning and sharing. And if there's something else that you're even interested in looking into, like setting up teams or using something else within the site, because we do have a lot to offer, but we only had a few minutes tonight. Right here, there is a link, view all getting started videos. So this takes you to a great knowledge center that we have, and you will see teacher task plans that you could use as a lesson plan to help plan out your task. And also these little tutorial videos that we shared with you tonight. So you could always use those resources as well.
Heather, I
All
just wanted
right.
to add one more thing. So while you're in the
Sure.
My Projects section and you've created your project for your student, you can always make a copy of that and have a variety of the same projects if you wanted to differentiate that particular project to a certain group of students. You can create one, make a copy of it, and then be able to differentiate for certain student groups if you need to.
Very good. Thanks, Lynn. Perfect. All right. So I'm going to head back. And we would like to introduce you to Mike Speziali. He is here from Meta Research. And Mike, go ahead.
Mike is it cannot unmute himself right now. So I'm
Oh,
just going to share what he has given to us. So Mike would like to share that Define Learning in conjunction with MIDA Learning Technologies is engaged in a statewide research project to determine the impact of project-based learning on student performance. As a district that is utilizing Define Learning, we would very much appreciate your participation in this study. We'd really appreciate if you could work with our research team. It will only require an hour of your time between now and the end of the school year. We will send you an email as a follow-up to the session and would really appreciate your participation. All you will need to do is respond to our email to indicate your willingness to be a part of the study. All information gathered will be completely confidential. And once you indicate your willingness to participate, our research team, led by Dr. Mike Speziali, will reach out to you to set up a brief call at your convenience. The findings of this research can only help to strengthen our collective efforts in providing excellence in education for all students. So I'm going to put that in the chat as well, so you have all that information. And I have spoken with Mike. He's a wonderful person. And enjoyed to talk to him about how we're implementing Define Learning in our district.
awesome. Thank you very much, Lynn and Mike. So Lynn and I are ready to answer any questions that you might have if you want to drop them in the chat. And you could also take a screenshot, and you are welcome to email either one of us, both of us, and could ask your questions to us specifically. And we're happy to collaborate and support you in any way possible using Defined Learning. So we are going to stay on until at least 8 o'clock. If you do have questions, we'll watch the chat and we'll answer them for you. And if not, yes, you will receive a recording of the webinar after, and we'll get it sent out to you.
There was one question, and I'm not sure what the answer is. For how many school years is it free for Connecticut?
That is a great question. And I believe the plan is for 3 years. And that's at least, that's at the moment.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And we have another question, curious if the resources are differentiated by Lexile for students who are not reading at grade level.
Yes, so inside of the site, so we do have our constructed responses, especially you will see all the different grade levels, and we do put a variety in there. And then I would like to point out the entire site when the students are logged in, we do have a toolbar that everything could be translated, everything could be read aloud to them. So we do have that option available as well in case something needs to be read to your students. I would also like to follow up with that question. I know you didn't ask this specifically, but a lot of times we'll have teachers ask us, should we search just by our grade level? And I would recommend searching a grade level below, maybe a grade level above. So I was using defined learning with some of my own students, and sometimes depending on the grade or the students, maybe we even found a task that we used 2 grade levels below. We customize it, we edit it, to meet our needs, our different learning goals that we had. But I would recommend searching by a variety of grade levels as well.
And that's the great thing about defined learning, is the fact that you can customize it for your own needs. So if I have a couple different project ideas I want to do with students, and I decide, maybe I want to add a third one, I can just go back to that project preview tab and just check that off and turn it back on so it's available for students. So that customization is just amazing.
Anybody else with any more questions, comments? Sure. So I would definitely like to help you. So I would search by that favorite way. It happens to be my personal favorite way, as I mentioned to you, to search. And I would look for some tasks. We have a variety of products, as you saw. Gosh, anywhere about a half a dozen a task, as I mentioned. And our products hit a different, many different learning goals. So let's say art. Let's say you could choose a product that has a design poster for it, a drawing for it. And let's say music. I know Lynn even highlighted this earlier. If you were on with us, she talked about our task, the musical Superstar. So they're designing different music instruments or building them. And as far as 30 to 45 minutes, yes, that's a quick amount of time. But I would recommend choosing one product with the task. So that way you could share the career video, share the guided questions, and start your drawing or start your musical instrument, and then go ahead and get it wrapped up the next time you meet with them. It does not need to be a 3-month PBL. It doesn't have to be completely from start to finish at the beginning. So maybe while you're dabbling in it, I would recommend starting that way.
And I would also say, so for our music teacher at the middle school, they only see students for so many weeks, and then they're on to another group of students. So in the way that you might do things for just once a week, our teacher did things every day, but only had a certain number of days to complete. So she had certain tasks for each day that she met with them, one built upon the other. And she was able to tailor that project to just exactly what she was looking for, aligned to her curriculum. So she didn't do every single project that was listed there. Instead, her performance task was contained to 3 things. And Heather, there's a question on, would you be able to show the student view? And it looks like you're pulling that up right now.
Sure. So I went to my classes and I'm logging in as a student. So this is the student dashboard that you're looking at right now. And you'll notice we even have a quick little video for your students to watch. And it really walks them through the process once they get here, what they need to do next, just in case. Might be for the student that just needs a little reminder once they're in here. So they will notice the list of tasks that you pushed out to them, or one as you get started, right? Their first one. They will click the little rocket ship launch button. And this is what it looks like from their side. So I am in Set the Stage, and it had that introduction and driving question. The career video is here for them to watch, the guided questions. And I mentioned that toolbar earlier. So just in case the student does need, they can have the whole page read aloud to them, or they could just highlight a certain part. And I just want to make sure I'm sharing my sound with you so you could listen.
How is problem solving part of the job?
So they could have the whole page read aloud, as I said, or they could just highlight certain parts. The student check-in questions, I mentioned if you were to push this out electronically, they would be able to type their answer right in the box, and they would be able to submit it to you. And there's their explore the background. And again, they could highlight, they could have it read to them, their products that they're going to be completing, their projects. In this case, I had it set that you would see 2 of them, but if we're only rolling out 1. So that's when we were in the customizing, when I kept saying, this is what the students will see. And do the research, their learning objects or the additional videos, and they upload their work right from here if you share this with them. So this is their presentation. They even have their rubric to look at if you're going to leave the rubrics to use with your students and score. And they could say they're ready to submit. And they have options to upload from their device. They could put in a link if they're allowed to use their camera on their devices. I know all schools are different, and they could submit their work for grading, and it would come to my teacher dashboard. So that's pretty much what the student side looks like.
And I
you
just want
might
to
have
add
noticed-
in one more
Sure.
thing is that
Mhm.
every rubric is customizable. So you can go in and make changes to that rubric. You can even pull the rubric up ahead of time with your students and you can work on it together so they have that great understanding of how they will be assessed.
You could tell that Lynn uses the site as she's adding more and more. We have so many great features. It's very user friendly and it's a great resource once you get started. So you probably noticed earlier tonight, and it's the speedy quick internet, I think, there was a red bubble. It should show up here any second by my projects because I logged back in as myself, and there it is. Just like when you get a text message notification, it's telling me that I have 14 items submitted in there. It might be a reflection question from students that I need to just go accept or decline or provide feedback to one of their projects, but that's telling me I have 14 items in there ready to score.
And as you and your teachers begin to really dive into Define Learning, there are other ways that you can share resources on here. If you look over to the side of Heather's screen, it says district projects. So you can always create a project, share it to a district folder, and now you and your team all have that same project. So if you're working on something, say on a 5th grade team or high school team, everyone has access to the same thing that you might have all worked on together.
Yes, there are so many features I could show you quickly. creating your own little group. Up in the top right, when you're logged in, I showed you with the drop down where a support ticket is that you could fill out quickly to share something with our support team. Or you'll notice group actions. You could create a group. So I could say, you know, 6th grade superstar teachers, and create my own little group to basically share my tasks with you as my 6th grade team, or whoever you want to share it with. And you could always join a group or go to your groups from there as well. Does anyone else have any more questions? We'll wait about 2 more minutes.
And absolutely feel free to reach out to me. I talk to a lot of educators. We have several from around the state that we collaborate with. So feel free to email me at any point in time if you have questions on how we're using it in Stafford. I'd be happy to help.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And please reach out with any questions or anything that you might need some help with. And also remember our little research if you would like to participate. So thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Have a wonderful night, everyone.